Now, I thought after Live 8, you weren't interested in reviving a music career much anymore. Yet here we are with a new album for the first time in 10 years.
I'm not sure reviving is the mot juste. It never went away to be revived. I gig every year, about 20, 25 gigs. I've got 35 years of songs. It's not as if I'm desperate for material. And the impulse to music occurs infrequently, and I don't push for it. When it happens, it will happen or it won't, and when it does happen, it will not be denied. And so it's not something that I wake up saying, "Oh my God, I've got to write a song today," or I worry about that I'm dry, or that it's got absolutely nothing to do with that. So music. So I do all this other stuff, but the one thing that entirely engages me intellectually, where the one thing that's very difficult is music. Business, politics, it's empirical. It's an argument, or you're looking for solutions, and there's maybe three possibilities. You hope you choose the right one, and but with this, it's entirely of the self, and it's not an understandable process. You can't externalize it and say it's this, this, and this, and that's why I enjoy it when it's happening. Though I tussle and wrestle it until it becomes the album I want. I'm sure that's true of everybody else, but the music never went away, and I never went from the music.
I did quite enjoy listening to the record, but I was surprised at how noisy it was. I like noisy music. And I was surprised, having gone back through your solo stuff, how distorted it was in some places, which I thought was really contemporary and cool.
Well, I live in the now, and I always have, and I suppose I seek to shape events as I experience them rather than respond to them. And I thought, I was being Captain Beefheart for 3 seconds, and Beefheart came to play with the Rats in 1978 down in California, which was a big moment. I mean, he's absolutely a musical, heroic figure for me, and I loved what he was doing. I'm glad you quite like the record. Were the Rats still going, I think they'd be doing stuff like the song Blowfish or Systematic Six Pack. That strikes me as being modern rhythm and blues sort of thing.
Yeah.
But bearing on your first question, I'm Irish, and I was back at home a couple of months ago in the pub with a novelist friend of mine, Philip Davison, and we were talking about why we do records or why he writes books. And he said he wrote books, he thinks, to frame his experiences, to make understandable the world he's in, what he's gone through. And that struck me as very true, because what I now kind of realise, having done these sort of things with people like yourself, that how to compose popular songs is really the bookend of Sex, Age and Death, the previous record. And whereas when I was a kid with the Rats, the sort of future is in front of you, and you're enraged with it, the world as you see it and find it, and are a bit panicked, and you want to shape a future of your own. And so often you're writing about external events. I mean, the first thing you heard me say is, "The world owes me a living." That's the first line you heard me say. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to talk like you. I don't want to look like you. I don't want to think like you. I'm going to be like me, is the end of that first single. And then, a couple of months later, Johnny Rotten comes along and says, "I'm the Antichrist. I'm your worst nightmare." And the Clash say, "White Riot, I want a riot of my own." And so it was this, theatre of the self, this in the post-war cosy consensus was falling apart, and it just wasn't working for that generation. That kid couldn't write the song Blow or Silly Pretty Thing even, and the 59-year-old could not go back and write Looking After Number One, but both are glad they wrote those songs. And so the purpose of songs have moved from the external world to the internal world. And that's not because you're older and more complacent. It's because I have every opportunity to talk about the external world. I make speeches, I talk to politicians, I go on radio or television, I write for the Globe and Mail or the Financial Times. What I don't get is the opportunity to, it's not that I don't get it, it's that the need to talk of the internal world occurs less frequently than the other one. And so Sex, Age and Death happened, the last record, when my wife left me. I was very much in love with her and it destroyed me. And I was living in this universe of pain, this sort of ubiquitous grief and loss, and it crowded my head and I didn't understand anything. And gradually various mumblings assembled themselves into Sex, Age and Death, which to my dismay won a load of awards. I never went to pick up one of them. It was all just too much. I wasn't even aware necessarily I was making a record. But once that record had been made, I had externalized that grief. I hadn't realized I was doing it, didn't think I needed to, but there it was. And so we come to my mate's conversation in the pub. I had framed a reference around my experience. Up to then, the enormity of the pain and the loss and the grief was so inchoate. I couldn't find a way over it or under it or around it. I was just stuck. And once this square thing existed, this CD, now I could see it externalized, say, I know you, you fuck. I know what you are. Get back inside my head in an appropriate place. And I could move around it and move on. And at the time, I hated women. Didn't trust them, didn't want to be near them. And I went to dinner in Paris with some friends, and there was this beautiful woman opposite me, and the correct English word is unmanned. I was unmanned. And I kind of responded objectively to her beauty. I sort of registered a beautiful woman, but that was it. And for some reason, this girl found something lovable in this most unlovable person, me, at his most detestable, his most unlovable, his most ugly physically and spiritually, and persisted. And a soul, a shriven soul, if there's an insistence on love, its inevitable and only response is to reciprocate, and gradually a soul got stitched back together and reconstructed something resembling a human being, and that's me. And that's what How to Compose Popular Songs is. On one end of it, you get absolute despair, Sex, Age and Death, and on the other, you get to a realization at the grand age of 59, what children in their teens and 20-year-olds understand, that John, in all his naivete, was probably correct. Love is indeed probably all you need.
So this is the result of 10 years of internalized experiences made external again.
Yeah, but without you knowing it, and that's why it takes long. Stuff builds up. I mean, a song, it turns out for me in this period of my musical life, is simply a self-addressed postcard from my psyche.
Never heard it phrased that way before, but yeah, I guess it would work out that way for some artists, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't, there's pointless me talking about Africa and the political world. I do it. So what's the point of me repeating it Prayseed in a song? I get an effect the other way. And so the length of time is academic. Who cares? If you've got nothing to say, shut up, and when there is something, you don't determine it. It pushes to the forefront, and there's this catharsis, there's this urge, and it's a purge. And it just vomits out endlessly, really, tunes and words that don't seem to make sense, that get cobbled together. And subsequent to making the record, having talked about it, you get it. But like 3 months ago when I began, talked to the Sunday Times UK, a noted critic, and he was asking me questions, and I said, David, I'm sorry, I'm so out of practice with this stuff. I don't know how to respond to you. I honestly don't know the answer. I don't know what that song's about. He said, well, maybe it's about this. And I said, yeah, maybe that's right. So I think he was talking about the song Blow, which I sing in falsetto, if I can put people off straight away now. You know, it's sort of not, there's no chords. It's sort of disembodied and fragile and broken and bleak. I think the opening line is blow. Yeah, it is the opening. Blow, hateful wind, cold, unfaithless skin. You know, and even the ghosts in the song have no structure. Like the song, the chorus says, "Will you speak?" And I say yes to boneless ghosts of empty rooms. Even the ghosts don't have bones. I haven't a clue what I'm on about until now, you know. And so that picks up where Sex Agent Death leaves off. You just float through this and hope that there's something at the other end. And that song's Love Will Find a Way to You Again. And then you move into Dazzled, which I'm thrilled to say I saw last night as the trailer for House, the new series of House.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it's not even released in the US. Wow, cool, you know. And they used a song from this new album. I'm thrilled. And that was the next one. And then you move on to the sunny uplands of Silly Pretty Thing. And the new single in England is called Here's to You. And before I left, I saw a review and said, one, the key line is, you know, I'm in love with life tonight. And the guy wrote, Bob Geldof, in love with light. What's going on? You know?
Well, that's a fun song at the end, and you go off into this weird little soliloquy at somebody's license plate number, and you're asking them for a car to be moved.
Oh, that's the Young and Sober track. That's the hidden disposal.
Oh, is that what that is? Because I just had it on and I heard this and go, that's kind of a weird segue from that song into.
Well, no, you know, you always have to have I said, well, whatever, you pick a track, and the record company just picked that one, and you've got to have two other ones for Amazon, another two for, I mean, spare me, you know. But your songs get used up that way. But no, that you need to be Irish. And I'm shit at the piano, and I was at home, and you know the Whitmore tapes, the Dylan ones, you know, where he's going ding, ding, ding. He's terrible piano. And the seas will crash, and that dinga, 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 and that biddle outside raging, ding, ding, ding. And like, that's how I play. And I was going ding, 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 ding. And then I went ding, 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 ding. And I started laughing because when you're a kid in Ireland, there's things called feis ceoils, which means music festival. I guess feis is a festival, or a fleadh is a party, but feis is a festival, ceol is music. And you'd have competitions between the schools, and you'd be picked to be in the feis ceol. You know, I used to do Yeats, I used to read a Yeats thing. You had to do something Irish, so you could do an Irish dance, you could do an Irish tune, you could play an Irish air, you could do whatever. But, you know, there would be a Simon Cowell figure in the village hall or the church hall, and it'd be the local priest, and there'd be three people sitting at a piano staring at you sternly, and inevitably Mrs. Gilligan would be on the upright piano on the stage, and you'd go into this empty, freezing hall. What's your name? Geldof, father. Right, tell me, Geldof, what are you going to do? I'm going to do WB8. Right off, we won't need you for this, Mrs. Gilligan. Go off and have a cup of tea. Thank you, Father. Yeah, and I'd go off and I said, I will arise and go now and go to his feet. Enough, go on, get off, you're useless. You know. So this was, and inevitably the next person goes, I'm going to do the Walls of Limerick, Father. Right, Mrs. Gilligan, off you go. Ding, 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 ding. And so I was immediately back in those cold village halls. So, you know, I started literally in the year of 55 when I was but a child. You know, it's all that. And it's a trope. It always has to be the year of something. Right. And the Lord always does something. In this case, he's settled on my shoulder, you know. And through those childish days, he would guide my guileless ways, for I was young and sober. You know, there was always for I was. And then I moved on to, not really thinking about 65, which was crap. And I thought, hold on, yeah. Then 75, that's when the Rats start. Then 85 was Live Aid. 95, my missus left. You know, I thought, hold on, I know my life is episodic, but does it have to be, you know, every decade? And what's tragic is that a Canadian critic was going on to me yesterday about the precision of the language there. And I said, what you mean is that I can sum up this life pathetically in 30 lines, you know, which is what it is.
Okay, I want to talk about a couple of other things that are near and dear to you. First of all, my wife wants to go to Ireland
Yeah.
this July,
Yeah.
and she wants to go on a driving vacation. What should we do?
Well, it'll take you a day to go around the entire country. So, you know, are you coming back? How long is it? Is it a weekend
No,
away?
we'll go for a week.
Yeah, Dublin first. Great city. The country is utterly bankrupt, but the Irish are fairly fatalistic. And the taxi driver said to me the other day when I went home, he said, "Actually, we're never meant to be rich anyway, Bob." You know, but they're more resilient than they are fatalistic. So the pubs will still be there, and the fun will still be there. But it's sad. Then head south down the coast road. I'd stay the night in Wicklow. It's only about 50, 60 miles out of Dublin, but very beautiful. Down through Wexford into Cork. West Cork is exquisite. Going up the west coast, then that's down the east coast. Going down up the west coast, Bantry, Galway. I then hop across the Midlands. If you've got time, go up to Donegal. Wild country, very beautiful. Yeah, it's a lovely place. But more importantly, I would say this, but I've lived in the UK for most of my life now. Great people, really great. I mean, they're the even if the country was ugly, they're cool, and the music is spectacular.
I was watching the BBC all this week, and there was one report saying that there could be an exodus of young people because of the economic crisis.
Could be, there is. There's 1,000 leaving a week. I mean,
this is the worst thing that we've seen, Ireland's seen since the potato famine, that exodus of young people.
Well, yeah, except I think it's more the same as the mid-'70s when I left and a whole generation left, which is why that would spark. I mean, I referred to the Rat song, Looking After Number One, you know. I mean, I went through school. Where's my future, dude? You know, you told me if I did your thing, there'd be something. So that's why I sang The World Owes Me a Living. You owe me, you know, what? And loads of us left then. I happened to pitch up in Canada ultimately, which is really what saved me. I'm not saying that because I'm here. I mean,
you were in Vancouver for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I wrote for the Georgia Strait. I was the music editor.
Right.
And this country really saved me. I mean, Bob was born in Canada. I mean, before it was Geldof and Robert in Ireland. But it was kind of shut up and get on with it. And if you're no good, you're out. If you're good, hey, dude, no problem. And I was chucked out because I was an illegal. But as soon as I went back, I applied for full citizenship because I really loved it. And I was allowed to breathe here, you know. And, what I was waiting for, if I was going to get in, I started a rock and roll band, and that was it. But you're back in that situation. I mean, I was in Canada recently, and I was in Australia recently. And top of the immigration queue are these very smart young Irish people. They're top of the queue because they speak English, they're young, they're very qualified, very well educated, and they just assimilate into any culture because they're interested in it. You know, they actually they don't come with any cultural overhang, so they go, this is cool, what is it? And it's very sad for us, though. It's very sad for Ireland. I mean, this massive hemorrhaging of talent. Sad.
I'm going to Africa next month, the East and the South. What are your feelings about what's happening on that continent these days?
Well, you can't say continent. I mean, China, India, all of Europe, all of North America fit comfortably into Africa. You can't say what's going on there. There's 53 nations. There's 2,000 languages.
All right, let's look at Ivory Coast.
Yeah, that's a mess.
What else is bad? Zimbabwe is not going anywhere fast.
Yeah, but I mean, that isn't indicative. It's like saying Zimbabwe is to Africa what North Korea is to Asia. It's like saying, wow, what's happening in China and India is amazing, but hey, North Korea, dude, Asia's mess. There's more wars in Asia. There's more corruption in Asia than there is in Africa. Africa by 2040 will be one of the top 3 centres of economic activity in the globe, without question. Last year alone, Africa had more discretionary income than Russia or India. It's a billion people, half of whom are under 16. You've got a continent of teenagers.
Why aren't we hearing more about this in the West then?
Because you like sensationalism, you like prurience. It makes a better story. You know, I mean, there are 52 cities of more than 1 million people, same as Europe, more than India. The highest scores in maths and science in the world are Ghana and Tunisia. You know, I mean, it's completely counterintuitive. Everyone I meet says, yes, I'm part of this program. That's nice. But, you know, the big picture, and whether Canada likes it or not, it's making a serious foreign policy mistake by deciding that its axis of interest must be Latin America. I know it's nearer, that's good, but the key point to Canada is you're a commodity economy. And your rivals are Africa. And you are competing with China. That's the 21st century.
Well, for energy, rare metals, a variety.
For everything. I mean, you know, they trump you in nearly every single commodity, practically. I can't remember which it is. You probably got more nickel. You got a few more things more. But essentially, you know, Australia, Canada, Africa, and the 21st century will be made, obviously, with the growth of Asia, and you will compete. And where, you know, you're sort of ignoring that. Politics. I know your mining companies are big there, and sometimes they're not behaving all too well. So you need diplomacy going on there. So yes, you're right. I mean, Canadians should be told more about this place that they're in competition with. They're in competition for the 21st century with this continent, and you know, frankly, China's all over Africa and bringing benefit as well as negative things to it. I mean, Ghana alone, 75,000 Chinese immigrated entirely to Ghana last year. That's just
to Ghana.
To Ghana, yeah.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.